And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're gonna get it.
Ever since he won the 2016 election, Donald Trump has had an interest in purchasing Greenland from Denmark. In 2019, Trump proposed trading hurricane-devastated Puerto Rico and Denmark in exchange for Greenland, or at the very least reallocating federal funds away from disaster relief in the territory and towards buying Greenland. During Trump's second term, he has repeatedly refused to rule out taking the island by military force. But the president's pursuit of Greenland isn't new to American history. The idea of an American Greenland goes back over 150 years, and because of that, it's an idea that shows up frequently in the online alternate history community. But how plausible is an American acquisition of Greenland? When could the United States have done it? That's the question I'm going to try to answer in this video. The metric I'm going to be using to rate the plausibility of each scenario is going to be the TV trope sliding scale of alternate history plausibility, link in the endnotes. Quoting the scale itself, the line between the different types is highly subjective, often depending on an individual's personal interpretation of what historical theory he/she believes. None of these types are inherently superior or inferior to the others, and all can be used effectively depending on the purpose to which they are being put. Just because I consider a premise to be implausible, it doesn't mean that using that premise in a timeline is bad or that I'm objectively right for all eternity. I've disagreed with myself before. Exercise the right to call me a dumbass who should delete my channel. Well, maybe don't be that harsh, but you get my point. Roll the intro. I'm not going to be talking about every single time a random member of Congress suggested buying Greenland in this video, otherwise it would be way too goddamn long. To keep things simple, I'll just be looking at the Wikipedia list. Not all of my citations will come from there, but it's a handy checklist for everyone at home. Probably the biggest hurdle in Trump's quest to buy Greenland from Denmark is that Denmark refuses to sell and Greenland refuses to be bought.
Let me put it in words you might understand. Mr. Trump, fuck off.
This isn't the first time either. In 1946, Secretary of State James F. Byrnes offered $100 million for Greenland to Danish Foreign Minister Gustav Rasmussen. Rasmussen rejected the offer and said that Greenland would not be ceded to any other country. Every political party in Denmark was also opposed to selling Greenland. The buck stopped there. A successful purchase in 1946 would easily fall into a Type 3. Clearly, we're going to have to find a point in time when Denmark was willing to sign over Greenland. 1910 seemed like a good idea on the surface, when American Minister of Denmark Maurice Francis Egan reported that the Danish people thought of the island as, quote, waste territory, and proposed trading Greenland and the Danish West Indies for Mindanao and Palawan in the Philippines. Denmark would then trade these islands to Germany in exchange for northern Schleswig. The proposal never went anywhere, as it involved too many moving parts, and giving Wilhelm II colonies in Asia was a non-starter. The United States would eventually buy the Danish West Indies in 1917, and they became the US Virgin Islands. Denmark ended up with northern Schleswig for free after Germany lost World War I, so the proposed trade was entirely unnecessary. There's no way to know how Congress or President William Howard Taft would have responded to this proposal, but just to be safe, it's getting the Type 3 treatment. This will also be applied to the 1955 proposal Wikipedia mentions. I've saved the most plausible for last, that being the 1867 proposal. Even before Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox, Secretary of State William H. Seward was on a hunt for new land in the Caribbean to establish American naval bases. He had quite a few to consider, like buying the Spanish, French, and or Swedish colonies there, Mole St. Nicholas in Haiti, Samana Bay in the Dominican Republic, or potentially annexing all of Hispaniola. But the islands of St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John, owned by Denmark at the time, became the prime focus. As Seward negotiated with the Danish government, Robert J. Walker, a close associate of Seward who supported annexing Texas and the All of Mexico movement, recommended adding Greenland and Iceland to the shopping list. The purchase of the Danish West Indies gained the approval of President Andrew Johnson, and a treaty was ratified with Denmark following a plebiscite showing the inhabitants were in favor of being annexed. Although additional negotiations to buy Greenland and Iceland for $5.5 million smackers in gold were nearly completed, Seward never made a formal offer, as the Senate refused to ratify the West Indies Treaty. The beef between Johnson and Congress over Reconstruction intensified during negotiations, and by the time the treaty with Denmark was up for ratification, Congress was getting ready to impeach the president. Because Johnson was in favor of purchase, the Senate was opposed, and the idea of buying Greenland and Iceland was shelved by the Secretary of State. The French and Swedish, who had shown a willingness to sell their Caribbean possessions to the United States, backed away after the Danish treaty fell through. Even the successful purchase of Alaska involved so much bribery and various political machinations, combined with the fact that it was Russia specifically selling Alaska, that it would have required the stars to align twice for another purchase to have been approved by Congress. By the time Johnson left office in 1869, the only territorial acquisitions to Seward's name were Alaska and Midway Island. In comparison to the proposals in 1946, 2019, and 2025, when Denmark refused to sell, and the proposals in 1910 and 1955, when the United States refused to buy, the proposal in 1867 is probably the easiest to find a plausible path towards success for. Andrew Johnson never being president could be its own video, but there's multiple points of divergence that could have kicked him out of the line of succession. If Abraham Lincoln had been killed before his second term began, or if Lincoln had not dumped Vice President Hannibal Hamlin as his running mate in the 1864 election, a radical Republican would have been in office by April 15, 1865. Hamlin, a supporter of emancipation and equal rights for African Americans, would have had a much better relationship with Congress than Johnson did, and Seward would have had a much better chance of getting the Senate to approve the purchase of the Danish West Indies, leaving the door to buying Greenland and Iceland open. Notice that I only said it better. It still would not have been guaranteed. I'm going to rank a successful purchase under these circumstances a Type 2, while the historical circumstances are in yet another Type 3. While nothing here reaches the level of implausibility of Operation Sea Lion or Aztecs with guns, there was never any point in time when the United States had Greenland in the bag, and there probably never will be. There's very little risk involved in leaving the island alone. Denmark is an ally of the United States and a founding member of NATO. The Danes have fought alongside us in World War II, the Yugoslav Wars, and the War on Terror. I trust them with Greenland. I'm the Counterfactor, and thanks for watching.
Big bang bang roll, got cheat codes. Certified in the hood, boy, they all know. Don't be asking y'all that you gotta know to know. Got a pocket full of cash, so the whole boat. See, I've been thugging since a young and I ain't got a bang. My name been ringing bells since I was like 14. Been service stacking from all of the dope fiends. And I ain't tripping, y'all could get it, you ain't get from